So welcome back to another Agony Aunt real life chat on a Sunday. I'm here with two VIP guests, Richard and Jade, both people I met in Bali, spent a lot of time with and have been dying to get onto the videos. So we're here today, we're talking all about relationships. We did open up the question pool to all of you, so all the questions we're asking today we've been sent over by you guys. We are going to try and get through as many as possible, but I like to talk. I think
we like to talk.
Richard and Jade like to talk, so we're going to try and get through as many as possible. So, first question for you both. How do you handle arguments? Any tips I can try?
We were chatting about this before, weren't we, Boo?
Yeah. Do you want to go with this one?
So I'll go with one that comes to mind. One really kind of useful tip is that you see the issue at hand as a separate problem. So whenever you're having an argument, if there's something you want to resolve, you have a goal in mind, right? That you both want to have a successful relationship and you want to get on, you want to be harmonious. So that's the goal. So you can even sit together physically and then view the problem, whether it's money issues, and you tackle it together. So it's not about proving one person right and the other person wrong. It's about working out that problem.
Yeah.
And then it's no longer an argument, it's trying to find a solution.
Yeah, so you kind of separate yourself from it, I guess.
Yeah.
And you're not attacking the other person. It's like, okay, I'm upset about this, I'm not blaming you for it, but what can we do to fix this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think it's good to get a bit of aggression in sometimes, or do you think we should be trying to remove that?
I personally think remove, like initially, if there's like if something is heated, I know that there's something being triggered from before. So if I feel like there's anger in it, I'm kind of like, babe, this has come up. I feel angry about it, but I won't take it out on him because it's most likely not his fault. Even though I might choose to like blame it on you, it's not usually. It is never your fault, to be fair. So yeah, taking out the aggression and then just looking at it as like a separate thing that you both need to tackle makes it so much easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, along that line of, should you inject a bit of aggression into it?
What I mean by that is it healthy to have extreme emotions sometimes?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would agree. I don't think definitely the negative emotions, so aggression stuff's probably not going to help you. You know what you get like when you get angry, it just kind of clouds everything. You don't make good decisions, right? A bit like if you just equate it to a young child getting angry, they don't make good decisions. Whereas a child who's relaxed and calm probably is pretty happy and makes that good decision. And along that vein, what we try and do is, and this is developed and we talked about it, is we create like a safe space, don't we? So in that sense, you don't have to feel angry. Often the anger can come from a protective, defensive position. That you're worried that what you say, you might get attacked back.
Yeah.
Right? So Jade can say anything to me, and I can say anything to Jade, and we know that the other person's going to listen and not attack the other person. Even if it's that, hey Jade, we had a thing in Bali, and I just said, I don't know why, and I don't really consciously think of it, I've got some resentment, I think, towards you at the moment. I don't know why.
Is that how you word it?
Yeah, literally, quite literally. It was like,
resentment.
no, I kind of feel like resentment. Rich
Rich
is very calm though, this is the thing, because I get what you ask about aggression, but like, in previous relationships, it would be like proper fiery, and it's like, you have like a really passionate argument about something, and then you feel like, passionate in the sense of it being like full of some sort of like extreme emotion. Yeah, exactly. But then you end up having like these cycles of really highs and really lows, which are like addictive and they feel great, but there's no longevity in it at all. Yeah. So you may have arguments that seem more steady, but you just have like the relationship is just so solid, and you know that if you get into a difficult conversation, that you'll be able to get through it without having to explode.
This is a good one. What are your thoughts around open relationships and polyamory?
Ooh.
You too?
Me too.
So we spoke about this, didn't we?
Yeah.
Do you want to go first bit? Dive in.
Okay. Well, yeah, there's two different types, isn't there? So the open relationship and the polyamorous.
See, I wasn't aware of the difference between the two.
Okay. Actually, you know the definitions better, don't you, of the two different...
I think you described it very well before, but I'll give it a go. So polyamory is where there's actually an agreement where you're in a relationship together. So there might be 3 of you, there might be 4 of you, but you're all interrelated, having a relationship. And normally with polyamory, you live together as well. Not always,
At some point.
but there's a clear relationship between you all, and you're all intertwined.
And is there not meant to be a favoured person, or is it meant to be equal?
I'll tell you what, if you want to know a little bit more, watch Louis Theroux's documentary on polyamory.
So yeah.
But there's variances.
Okay.
But that's a general, my understanding anyway, is that it's a relationship amongst you all. You're interrelated, and there's communication between you all. So if you want to invite another person in and make it 4 people, then you'll have a discussion, etc. Whereas open relationship is literally like, Jade,
We both have separate...
can I have sex with other people?
With other people.
And you're like, yeah, I'm okay with that, and also I want to have sex with other people, cool, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But there's no like, we're all going to meet up, I don't need to know who she's having sex with and be friends with, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So in terms of what your own personal thoughts are on this,
we both came to the same conclusion, but we were chatting to a couple that has an open relationship, and from just hearing them talk about it, what it seems like is that nowadays we expect our partner to be everything for us, like our best friend, our all the things that you get from your girlfriend or a community of people. We put pressure on for the partner to fulfill for us. So what it seems like is when you have an open relationship, the things that are missing from your current partner, you end up seeking out in other people.
yeah.
And also fulfilling the primal drive to have sex with multiple partners. But if you can get what you need from your friendship group, then what you're left with is just fulfilling a primal urge to have sex. Are we conscious enough, like are we evolved enough to be able to not give in to that primal drive, is like the end question. And for me, in that case, I probably don't need to do that. I can be satisfied with one sexual partner and not have to seek out others. So I think it would make a lot of headache.
And is that something that you both agree on?
Yeah.
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 100%.
Okay, moving on. How do you avoid social media affecting your relationship? Gabriella, do you have this issue with a larger following? So I guess let's put it to you two first, and then I'll chip in. Or maybe it doesn't affect you at all.
Well, we've definitely had the conversations around it because both of us are active.
It's definitely affected us.
But we found a way to like make it fun.
Yeah.
To kind of add, I was saying the other day actually, we had this conversation with Ben that when we're doing something and we decide to capture a bit of content, I realise that it highlights the memory in my brain. So actually we could have been having like a really nice date weekend, and I might not have remembered like a specific moment, but because we captured it on social and it played back and people engaged with us, it's like a really strong memory in my mind, so it kind of adds in some way.
Yeah.
But then when you're feeling a bit shit and you're like, I don't want to put the face on for social, then it starts to detract.
But I think what I like about you two, or at least what I've noticed, is that it's a bit more candid. You don't look like, a lot of the time, either one of you know the other one's filming the other. So you get more raw emotions. It's just really nice. And actually I think that is probably more what social media should be about.
Just more natural.
Yeah.
More candid.
That's how it's really added, I think. We both said how much we enjoy those candid things. And we were like, well, we would never really have actually those moments in real life. So we're like, oh, let's just, basically, like, let's say we're having breakfast, we've had breakfast, it's been nice, we've been in the moment, enjoyed it, and then I'm like, could add something else now, get a camera, I'm like, don't even know what's going to happen, I'm like, hey Bubs, and then we just riff, and it's like something cool, something new.
It's fun,
So
it does add to it, but again, like, we switch off phones by a certain time every evening. Like,
that's good.
We do not have phones on when we're spending time together.
Yeah, we have an hour together at least from like 9 to 10.
Otherwise,
where it's just talking and nothing else.
And it's
See,
just
that's
take
not
over your
point.
life, right?
Yeah, and it does for me. And that's not a point I've got to that I really need to get to, is actually having dedicated time off my phone. In relation to me, do I have an issue with a larger following? Obviously I'm not currently in a relationship and haven't been for a while, but it definitely did affect previous relationships of mine. I think as a guy having, a girlfriend who is on social media, who is putting up photos of herself, you know, I'm automatically opening up my audience to a male following. You know, there are photos of me on holiday, I'm in a bikini. So yeah, and I completely understand it has made previous boyfriends jealous. They've wanted passwords to my accounts to check that I'm not doing anything behind their back, and that's not healthy. I think a lot of it is to do with trust. So yes, it has affected my relationship, and actually I've become a lot more present on social media in that couple of years. So obviously if I was to enter into I'm stuttering again. If I was to enter into a relationship now, it would probably be something I would have to address in some capacity. But moving on, how do you trust someone who has cheated before but you've decided to give a second chance to?
I'll answer this one. What was the question again? How do you
trust someone who has cheated before but you've given a second chance to?
So, I personally had to work on this like quite a lot in the last relationship, and the thing that it came down to, which affected like pretty much any relationship moving forward, is that I don't know if it's really down to trust, because anyone could hurt you, like anyone could cheat on you, something can happen and you lose your sense of mind and you cheat on me. Like, it will happen, it could happen, it could happen, but you need to know that you're going to be okay whether or not someone cheats on you or not. It doesn't reflect how good of a person I am if someone cheats on me. So if you have been cheated on and you decide that you want to make the relationship work, you have to look inwards and be like, am I okay? Am I going to be okay if this happens to me again? If you think you can handle it, then that's fucking solid. Like, really, you can take on anything. So I really think it is looking inwards, trusting yourself that you can be okay, and that will allow you to move forward in the relationship again, because you can't rely on that person.
So perhaps it's actually working on yourself before you give someone a second chance.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
building
building
yourself
self-esteem,
up.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Richard and Jade, you seem like you have the perfect relationship. Has there been any lows you'd be comfortable discussing, and how did you get through them?
We had an interesting one. The one that came to mind straight away, I think, was the wedding. Wedding chat. And we'd kind of talked before about, you know, do we want to get married? What kind of marriage do we want? What would the day be like? And we both initially agreed that it wasn't going to be the big white wedding, and it was not necessarily about how much we spend, etc. So we thought like we were on the same wavelength, and we kind of were. But then as we started kind of thinking about it and planning a date, some kind of friction occurred. And I don't know if you want to talk about first about the kind of conflict that you had inside you.
Yeah, I think that from what I've seen from a lot of other women, that it seems to be quite common, but there's like a conflict with everything that we grow up with around like the Disney fairy tales and stuff like that, and like the women get given this day of like magic and you have this beautiful gown and you're centre of attention, and it's literally like the dream that a lot of women like save money for. But then as I've got a bit older, I've started to realise that I want to live slightly differently, and it doesn't really fit in with my values of maybe being sustainable or having equality in a relationship, like gender equality. So I ended up in this position where I kind of deep down still wanted this wedding in my mind, but at the same time it was going against everything we discussed at the beginning of the relationship, where it was about gender equality, like it's about the relationship long term, not about one day. And I started to realise that I was running away with wanting to create something really special for friends and family and what it might look like on Instagram and all of this kind of stuff.
Less about you both.
Yeah, less about us both. And then Rich picked me up on it, and he was kind of like, it feels like it's going a bit out of proportion here, what's going on? And that's when the conversation just kind of, we were both, I don't know, there was hurt on both sides, I guess.
Yeah. It was the hardest because I felt like there was a point where we were still, for a while, we were like, you know, talking about it shouldn't be passionate or aggression, there was still a lot of emotion in there.
Yeah.
And I think you felt like I don't want to put words in your mouth, that something was being taken away from you.
Yeah.
that you've been promised by Disney or something like that.
Yeah.
You basically felt
Disney promised
and I was
me.
like,
I think a lot of girls will be able to relate to that.
absolutely. And you were going to have something, and now effectively I'm taking it away from you, even though we kind of talked about it and it wasn't something you wanted. And then on my side, the emotions were, I feel like an absolute prick because I'm making her, well, not making her cry, but she's crying, Jade's crying, and you're crying.
I was crying.
And like the easiest thing would be, and probably a lot of guys feel this, you're like, you're just like, oh, I'll just give you what you need.
Yeah.
Because that's what we want to do. I think
you
generally
want to make your woman happy.
guys want to serve their women. I do. I think we want to feel useful, right? Providers.
Of course.
And another way of providing is just serving and making someone feel happy. You get a lot of joy if your partner feels happy. And so the conflict for me was wanting to pick that easy route, but then trying to stick to my guns and talk it through that. And that's a really nice thing to get used to in a relationship, is being okay with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because most people are like, it's too, like, even I wanted to, I was like, it's too much, look at her, she's so hurt. I'll just give you what you need, have it. It's a bit like a kid who cries, and you're like, just have the sweet, it's fine.
Yeah.
And so it was that both of us sitting
in that uncomfortable
horrible
space.
discomfort and both feeling like really emotional and trying to talk it out. And then as time went on, like at the beginning, I felt like I was trying to put my view across and you were trying to put your view across, and that was very uncharacteristic, because normally we try and understand each other's point of view.
Yeah.
And then
we're just trying to get our point across, literally.
Yeah, for a while.
So
head
what
to
was
head.
the solution or compromise? Or
I think partly the first bit was acknowledging each other's hurt and position.
Yeah.
So like understanding the other person. And it's the weirdest thing, as soon as you understand the other person, so if Jade understands me, immediately I relax everything and I'm like, I want to understand you now.
Yeah.
So that's probably one of the biggest
Big
things.
time.
Yeah.
How do you avoid comparing your relationship to the seemingly perfect Instagram couple goals? Or perhaps this isn't directly to you two, but how would you advise someone else maybe? Because I can't imagine you both comparing yourself constantly to couples on Instagram.
It's different because we are like active on Instagram to the point that you know that stuff is not real. I mean, in a still image, for example, like what does that really show us about what goes on behind closed doors? So I don't know. Do you compare yourself?
No, but one thing that just came to mind is that often with those stills and that kind of way I'm not really, that's not even a goal of mine in the first place, because it is that created situation. So why would I want to go for something that isn't real? That'd be the strangest thing to ever do in the world, right?
Yeah.
Go try and find a place that doesn't exist on the map. That'd be weird.
But I guess it's also actually, again, going back to how you view yourself as a person.
Yeah.
And actually, if you're more confident in yourself and you've worked on yourself, then perhaps you're not comparing yourself anyway. So I actually skipped a question.
Which one is it?
The question was actually directed at me. Which is why I skipped
That's
it.
why.
It's weird you skipped it.
And the question is, Gabriella, why are you single? Are you still mourning a previous relationship? I mean, wow. This is a hard one. Now, as I already mentioned, it's been a while since my last relationship. I think mourning is perhaps the wrong word. Getting over and working on myself is probably a better way of putting it. There was a lot of things that I needed to work on in myself when I was in my last relationship, and they were very much highlighted during that relationship and immediately after. And I think what I've done in the last year is work on myself so much, most recently with the help of Rich, who I met through Jade. So that has helped hugely, and you may or may not have noticed that through some of my videos. I'm 29 and single, struggling to find a true connection after my first love 8 years ago. Is it possible to find as true a connection as I once had? I'm finding it hard to keep the faith after being single for so long.
So I would say with absolutely it is, like you 100% can find a connection. Now the first thing I'd say is with hypnotherapy and other therapies, you could go in and change those associations. So you might have some associations, I don't know, but we'd see if we did a session together, that you have associations that you are having doubts that you can do it again. Why is that? There might not be a reason why, except that you have associations in your unconscious mind, so we can go in and discover that. And that love, you've made an association about that love, that first love, that nothing will compare to it in the way you've put that question. So we would delve into that. I would say 100% you can find another connection as strong, as good, but the issue will arise when you're looking for that connection.
The same one.
The same connection. So you need to just put that where it is, in the past, learn from it what you can, and you could probably find an even deeper or a new connection.
I think as well with something like that, what you wanted and needed 8 years previously will be so different.
That's such a good point.
8 years down the line, and actually you'll have changed so much as a person, and your needs and wants will automatically be so different. Maybe.
Yeah, so true.
Okay, next question. How did you get over feeling uncomfortable, Jade, about when Rich was lovely to you at the beginning of your relationship?
You're so nice. I want to give context to that question because it's.
So this must be someone that knew you both.
It's someone that knows us. But the reason why she's asked it is because I've had a history of quite challenging relationships, and I used to go for people that were maybe a bit more emotionally unavailable or just not as outwardly loving, so I wasn't really used to that. So when I met Rich, he kind of went into that category of being like the nice guy, but you know, like he literally you ticked all of my checklists. But because you were so loving and kind, it was just so unfamiliar to me that I was like almost jolted. My subconscious was going, this isn't familiar, it's a little bit unsafe, should I trust this person? So there would be moments where we'd be like randomly like having a walk in the park, or we'd be at home lying in bed, and I would just go cold, like I would switch off, and something was telling me that it wasn't safe. So in those moments where I'm like, there's something not quite right, I would literally just have to physically push through, and it might be different for everyone, but I would have to show love. Like I would voice it to you first and be like, I'm feeling really like uncomfortable right now, and I would like force myself to like cuddle him, like literally have to just like push through the barrier. And then once that happened, it kind of just melted, and every time it came up, I would do the same thing over and over again, and eventually it started to feel really natural. And it very rarely happens.
I was about to say, does it still happen now? Or?
It happened like once.
That was interesting.
We were lying in bed together, and suddenly, like, I went cold.
I was like, you've gone.
Like, you noticed it straight away.
I was like, babe, you've gone. Yeah, I could tell. She goes off somewhere.
And then I
guess this is one of the perks of dating a
coach. Yeah, exactly. You watch it. I mean, like, some people might find it a bit like to be like watch, but I genuinely think that if your partner can recognise it and you talk openly about that kind of stuff, then you can grow and like change yourself within the relationship, because there's like a safe space to do it.
Next question. How can I inject more excitement to our marriage after being together for 5 years? He's so lazy.
We've got loads of little things that we do, actually, like they're a bit unconventional probably. So there's something that we've been doing recently, and I guess, so we've only been together for, just over a year and a half now. So that's obviously a very long-term relationship, but we're like preempting what could come up. So just like, for example, with us, we both work at home, so we spend a lot of time around each other, so it's almost fast-tracked how much time we've had together in the relationship. So the one thing we've done to try and like make the time that we have together feel a bit more rare, so that we really appreciate the time we do have together, is that when we're in the house at the same time, we don't, there's a window of time like between 9 till 5 where we don't make any eye contact and we don't talk to each other, and we're in the same house, in the same room. And it was from the meditation retreat we went to, where we tried it out for 10 days, the silent retreat. And we literally, when we came out, we had such amazing like chemistry and connection that we were like, let's give it a go at home and see what it feels like. So now,
it works.
Literally, like the work week, we won't talk to each other until 5 p.m. So when 5 p.m. comes, I'll like go into the room, or I'll see you and we'll be like, oh, we get to talk now.
And look at each other as
Yeah,
well.
and make eye contact.
Yeah,
so
that's
you
huge.
like
It's
limit
quite a
the
good
time.
idea.
Yeah.
Simple,
Yeah,
it's free,
yeah.
it's easy to do. You can stop whenever
It's
you want.
different. It's
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
different. But I really like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What made you both move to Bali? Was it one more than the other? My husband wants me to move to New York City with his job, and I just can't imagine a life there without friends and family.
Come on, baby, go again.
I've been talking loads.
Nah.
Just have a
Sure, I was
go.
chatting about hypnosis for bloody ages,
Okay.
boring everyone's brain.
Okay, so overall, I think it was joint, but it was initially the idea that we both roughly want to have like kids in maybe like 3 years' time, and we were like, what do we want to experience from life before that happens? Because it's obviously going to change everything.
Yeah.
And I said that I would love to live in a country like completely different to London.
Yeah.
Just really have a different experience, and you were really up for that as well. So we kind of, that was a joint decision, I think. It wasn't one more than the other. I think we both sacrificed stuff though, to be fair.
Yeah.
So I left work behind, and you, what did you sacrifice?
So we had a discussion, didn't we? and I think maybe you were slightly more up for it at the beginning. We were going to fly to LA, and then we were sitting in the lounge, and within like 5 minutes we're like, cool, we're moving to
Bali.
India first of all,
yeah.
and then we changed to Bali.
Oh, so you hadn't actually decided where you were moving? You just went
No,
to
we
the
knew we
airport.
wanted to move.
Wanted the
Oh
experience.
no. We were flying to LA on a holiday.
Sorry, sorry.
And we were
I thought you
discussing
just
where
rocked
we were
up to
going
the
to go.
This is
airport.
classic me.
Can you
No
imagine?
context to the story.
No.
This is where Christmas time, LA,
Right.
and then we ended up moving July the next year.
6 months
Yeah,
later,
6
yeah.
months later. Get clear on what you need and what you want. So we wouldn't have moved, and we did sacrifice things. You know, you gave up certain things with your job,
Yeah.
not being able to work quite as much, but you wanted that exploration. Didn't
Yeah.
you? I remember really, you were like, I really want to explore, and you'd work for so long and you'd never really travel. Whereas for me, I'm an old fogey, 36, so I'd travelled a lot. I'd taken like mini retirements. You know, I'd taken probably like 5 years, maybe 6, dispersed to like do all that. So I wasn't so bothered about the travel. But for me, I was building my therapy business. I was like, well, as long as we can move somewhere where there's like internet connection, so I can still work, where I can network with people, where I can still grow and learn, then I'm also really keen to have this experience with you and like explore.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like chatting
Point.
and making sure we're on the right page. So with this woman, if she needs to have a chat, really, I would say,
Yeah.
and just
But be really clear what she wants,
Yeah.
because if you give up something for another person, it's your own decision.
And
Sure,
you don't want to
it's
hold
responsibility.
resentment towards
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Exactly.
And I
Yeah.
really think that we are responsible for our own happiness.
100%.
So
100%.
if she feels like she can't be in a good place if she moves
Yeah.
to New York, then you just, you do what you need to do for yourself, I think.
Good answers.
Be selfish.
It's like, do what you want.
What are your thoughts on dating apps?
I like them. We met on a dating app.
I was waiting.
Yeah!
So
Can you clarify which one?
Bumble.
Bumble.
There we go.
Bumble.
Yeah,
Were
like,
you on both though, weren't you?
I was on
He
loads.
was like
mate.
maxing out
I
his
was on loads.
options.
Maxing out.
Maxing out his
I like them. I think they're great. I think
If you use them in a good way, right?
I think if you use them in a ethical way or whatever, but I think why not use every avenue? I think you'd be mad not to use, chat people up in
Agreed.
the street,
Yeah.
meet people on holiday, meet people through friends and family, and use apps. All you're doing is taking away an option.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm on dating apps as well. I recommend
You
them
can
to
find me
friends.
Which
Which
one?
one?
Bumble and
Bumble and Hinge.
Hinge.
He does these out of the link now. You don't know.
It's been so long.
I'm on those two.
Oh, Hinge.
Not that I'm
Bumble and
actually
Hinge.
actively looking at them, but I am on Bumble and Hinge.
What kind of guy are you looking for? Now that you've kind of had that relationship and you're
I don't really have a checklist. I'm definitely looking for a more genuine connection. But we are, going off point here. But
good.
I am on
Really
2
important.
dating apps to answer the question.
Yeah. I do
So-
think that the bio, when people are using dating apps, that yes, the picture's of course important, but the thing that is written in the
Yeah.
bio, I remember specifically, I swiped on Rich because I really liked his cute glasses, but also because in his bio he wrote, I'm looking for a girl that's comfortable in her own skin, and I thought to myself, I'm not yet that girl, but I really want to be.
Yeah.
And when I read that, I was like, that's important. So I think
Know
the
it.
bio plays a big part in it.
I like him.
Massively.
I like him.
I like him.
I like you.
I like him.
Next question. What does marriage mean to you all? I'm trying to decide if I should compromise when my girlfriend wants it so much and I've never been bothered. I really like it when guys send me questions because it happens
Yeah.
so infrequently.
I feel like you should answer this one because
Yeah.
we had this chat on our first ever date around like almost trying to gauge whether marriage was something either of us wanted, because it's a foundational value.
Yeah. Okay.
I think.
Yeah, I'll go for it. So what does it mean to me? The marriage means to me a commitment every day. And funny enough, what pops into my head as that question was read is I was thinking about weddings, wedding days, which can be the confusion, I feel.
Yeah.
And my focus is on the marriage, on that commitment, on that vow. Every freaking day I get up, and in the morning one of the first things I do is send Jade a message, or messages about how I'm thankful for her, how I love her. And so a marriage for me is not a span, it's not a designated amount of time. It's every day I wake up and I do the work so that, you know, like anything you invest in, your energy, you get way more back. So it's not about a long period of time, it's about every day. A marriage is about that day, that moment.
But what about if the woman wants the wedding, like the physical? Is that what he's asking? Like the
So he
physical
talks about
wedding?
marriage.
Yeah, he's saying, what does marriage mean to you?
Yeah.
I'm trying to decide if I should compromise
Absolutely.
when my girlfriend wants it so much.
So
marriage
that's
or
why I
wedding
brought it
day.
up, because he's
Yeah.
talking about two separate things. There's the
Yeah.
wedding day and the marriage. So that's what marriage means to me, personally. And then if you're now talking about the wedding, so with your, is it fiancé or girlfriend? I'd say with the wedding, and he's having, he's not sure if he wants it.
I get the impression he perhaps doesn't want it, but he's deciding whether he should compromise because she wants it so much.
Yeah. I mean, that's only a decision that you can make.
But that is also does she want it because it's a form of security for her? Does she not have that security without the marriage linked to it?
Or does she want it for the wedding day, the fairy tale? As
exactly.
we spoke
Like,
about?
what's the reason behind it? Because I think that tells a lot about the relationship and whether there are things that need to be dealt with before you sign a piece of paper.
Yeah. And I think you, like we did, just open up a discussion, a safe discussion, and you should be able to, if she's the right person, and if you can't get past this, where you can talk honestly about how you feel about the wedding and the stresses it might be putting on you, because there's a lot of stress, especially for a guy, money, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
If you can't open your heart and just say, look, this is how I feel, and she can't just accept that, and she responds in a kind of defensive way, it's like, well, I should have a wedding, and etc., then that gives you a pretty quick answer on how you're going to deal with things in the future as well.
Yeah.
So I would just suggest having an open discussion where you can just share what you want. That made a funny sound. And then that, if you can get through that, then you're going to have a really good marriage. If you can't get through that and you can't understand each other's positions, then that's going to be a great telltale sign for the future.
Do you ever fall out of love or feel less attractive to each other?
I think that if there is ever a moment where I feel like I need to protect, this is subconscious, like consciously no, at all, like you're fucking amazing. But subconsciously, whatever little child is in there that ever feels like I need to like preempt something that's going to happen, or I've had a bad dream and I've been cheated on in my dream and I'm like having to protect myself, there'll be moments that I will go cold and then suddenly I don't see you in the same way anymore. But that's purely from like a protective position. But that's something I'm personally trying to work on. And the only other time I'd say is that you start to become normal looking to me, where I don't like look at you and go, oh my fucking god, you're hot, is when we've spent loads of time together and you just become normal. No, like honestly, like you're like, I love you to my absolute heart. When we spend too much time together, you become literally part of my own skin.
Yeah.
I'm like, do you know what I mean?
Spend a lot of time together.
What's it called? Law of diminishing returns.
Yes.
If you have a lot of something, the initial burst of what you get has such a high value to you, and then the more you have of it, it starts to diminish. So if you manage to keep things feeling fresh and rare and whatever, then you appreciate that thing more.
Yeah.
So
that then also goes on to the question which you spoke about, which was keeping the excitement there.
Yeah. Do you ever find me less attractive?
Never.
Oh, shut up.
Yeah, I do.
No, sometimes when I get ratty.
Yeah, no, of course I do. But I don't think I fall in and out of love.
Yeah.
At least yet. That's something separate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do have moments where I've seen you more, so there's nothing like familiarity to make the exceptional normal.
I get
so
that.
I just have to things like saying what I'm grateful for in the morning and sending to her. I almost read it back and I'm like, it revivifies it. I'm like, oh God, she is fucking amazing. Like, she's great.
But then I think echoing that, but from a single perspective, I always struggle with that word. Getting better at saying what you are grateful for every day, even if it's not necessarily for someone else because you're not in a relationship, is definitely helping me. It definitely puts you in a more positive mindset, and that is something that you actually asked me to start doing. My boyfriend, who I love dearly and I get a lot of stick for being with, is 15 years older than me. Do you have any tips for ignoring this?
I can answer this one. I get what you mean, because one of my previous relationships, my ex-boyfriend was 16 years older than me, but when it comes to stuff like this, it doesn't matter what the thing is that people are giving you stick for. Like your next relationship, if this one doesn't work, it could be something like they don't have a good job or whatever it is. Something will come up where people might give you stick for. So what I'd suggest is focusing on trying to make sure that you have like a really solid grounding within yourself, so that if someone says something to you, that you're gonna be okay. So I think you taught me about this, like the external locus of control, that we need to make sure that it doesn't matter what another person says to us, that we're gonna be okay. So it's something that I think you need to reflect inwards on and maybe just work out what it is. I describe it as my thermostat, that actually instead of wearing your thermostat on the outside so that when people say something to you it will really affect you and make you swing with your moods, is to work on bringing it inwards so that anyone can say something to you but you're so sure of your decision that it just doesn't affect you, because that stuff will come up throughout life, whether it's relationship, the job you choose to do, the country you live in. So yeah, that's
so that is a wrap.
Hey,
we did it.
We did
We
it.
answered all your questions. Thank you so much to Jade and Rich for coming on the video. It makes it far more fun for me to have company and have people on here to interact with. So hopefully that answered a lot of your questions. Hopefully for people that perhaps didn't send in questions but had questions to ask, some of these have helped in some way. And as always, please do keep sending over any ideas you have for more videos, and watch this space for more videos coming soon.